All right, good afternoon, everybody. To talk a little bit about two things going on in New York City. On one hand, we see that there's a certain communist activist named Nick Moster, calls himself Naftuli because he wants to try to sound like he's a frum guy when he isn't anymore. And, he is trying to destroy religious freedom for all Americans. This is not merely an attack on the Hasidic community. The Supreme Court already found that, in relationship to the Amish community, that, the way the Hasidic community conducts itself is totally legal. So, this has already been defeated in the Supreme Court, and this is what it is. It's Woder versus the state of Wisconsin. Yoder versus the state of Wisconsin. It's a Supreme Court case. It's settled law already. And you don't really need the Supreme Court to tell you this. Freedom of religion is a fundamental part of what America is all about. And according to the founders, it's not that the government is giving us freedom of religion. It's that God gives us the freedom of religion. And the government is recognizing that through the Constitution. And so these attacks against the religious freedom, not only the Hasidic community, all the Orthodox Jewish communities, but really all people who send their children to private schools, including secular private schools, this is an attack on this fundamental freedom. And it's fascinating that they call upon that the private schools have to have a substantially equivalent education to the public schools, the public so-called schools. And the thing is and so basically what people like Nick Muster want to do is take away school choice, take away the rights of people to choose what kind of schools they're sending their children to, and force them into the communist public schools. I mean, Obama himself said that public schools are socialist. They're socialism. It's a form of socialism. He admits to that. And it is. And, he said that in a speech. And they're just as dangerous as any other form of socialism. Just because public schools are socialism doesn't mean socialism is good. It means public schools are bad. And I want to point to something else in New York City. How in Harlem, what happened? A bunch of young men who all went to public school, were all raised in this socialist mentality. When the Democrats came in and re-enslaved their slaves once again, that's exactly what the Democrats did. Meaning the Republicans freed the slaves. The Republicans want to keep freeing people. Individuals, doesn't matter. Republicans don't care about the color of your skin. All Democrats care about is the color of your skin, because then they can put you into a group and have a voting bloc, and that's what it's all about. And they have their power, and they enslave people. And we see what's going on. These people who are raised in public schools, throwing water on brave, honorable policemen, on New York's finest. This is what the Democrat Party, which is really just a euphemism for the Communist Party in America, this is what they do. And if it were up to people like Nick Muster, they would turn our holy religious people of all different religions into that, because that's what they did. The African American community, these were church-going people. And what happened? The Democrats came, took the fathers out of the homes so they could replace fatherhood with socialism, and destroyed this community so they would be a permanent underclass. It's not permanent. If the Republicans had their way, these people would be lifted up out of poverty. They would have the freedom to be able to make a living, not be dependent on government, and think for themselves. And a lot of them are. There's the big Brexit movement. People are recognizing that the Democrat Party is the party of slavery. It's the party of Jim Crow. It's the party of the KKK. It's the party that inspired the Nazis, who were National Socialists. And the Socialist Party is the main part of it. And that's what it's all about. And that's what's going on here. And so I will say, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's not only that the yeshivas are substantially equivalent to the public schools. The yeshivas and the Catholic schools and the Christian Protestant schools and the madrasas, all of these schools are substantially far, far superior to the communist garbage in the public school. I say that as someone who attended public school for much of my school years, from pre-K to 9th grade. I attended public school. I know what it's all about. And as bad as it was back then when I was a kid, it's a million times worse now. It's all of the manifestos of the communist infiltration to destroy this country are all taking place in the Orwellian education system that we have in this country. And they're not happy that they have just the public school kids that they've destroyed. They want to destroy the private school kids as well. Well, we can't sit still while this is happening. And when bigots like Nick Muster and bigots like Beto O'Rourke, who said that not $1 should go to private schools, these people are bigots. They're bigots against Catholics, against Jews, against Muslims, against secular people who send their kids to private schools. People who want to give their children an advantage in life, who want their children to be not only educated, but to be moral, and ethical, and improve society. I work in a prison. We have 1,400 men. Not one of them went to yeshiva. Not one. You know, I heard a story. Ravi Zacharias, who's a Christian apologist. He was sitting with Ben Shapiro, who's an Orthodox Jew, a guy about my age. He's actually one day younger than me. And they were interviewing, and Ben Shapiro was interviewing Ravi Zacharias. Ravi Zacharias said that he visited the Louisiana State Penitentiary, which they call Angola. And there was a lot to the story, but one part of the story was one of the inmates showed him his Bible, and he said, Reverend Zacharias, if this Bible had been in my high school, it would not be here in this prison. And I'm not saying it's one religion over another, but just basic ethics and morals that are not taught in the public schools. In fact, the opposite is taught. What's taught in the public schools is just really nihilistic, it's horrible what goes on there. Just totally hedonism, and with no no holds barred, no restraint. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We'll see you later.